Okay. Because I started to record in this very moment, I will repeat your questions when answering. So a couple of other questions, then I go.
Prof.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a stupid question, but
A question is never stupid. Go.
okay. Can we compare Aristotle's eudaimonia to Socrates' idea of daimon? It's a general question,
this is a very good
not on the
one.
video. Okay.
Another one, then I answer.
I have a question, but it's about the first video.
Yeah. What do you mean by the first video? That of School of Life.
School of Life.
Yeah. Okay. Go.
In this video, it said that Aristotle invented the art of rhetoric, but isn't it by sophists invented?
Yeah. Okay. Can I go? May I go? Okay, I'll start with this last question. George asked, the video said that Aristotle invented the art of rhetoric, weren't the sophists to invent it? Yes, the video has a little bias, because, for example, the video recognizes to Aristotle the invention of the concept of eudaimonia, which is a concept that Socrates invented rather than Aristotle, and this is almost the same. But when they say that Aristotle invented the art of rhetoric, it is because we can say more that he invented the science of grammar. He invented grammar, while the sophists were just developing a technique to give a speech. Socrates analyzed the language. There are specific books by Aristotle that could be read by you who are students studying languages, because they are really useful. We can say that Aristotle, more than inventing rhetoric, invented the science of language. And a good rhetoric technique needs this science of language. And today, for example, all the sciences related with the study of language are very important. One of them is the philosophy of language, which is a specific branch of philosophy. Okay, then someone of you asked, can we compare Aristotle's eudaimonia with Socrates' one? Yes, of course we can, because remember that the line is that Socrates is the teacher of Plato, who is the teacher of Aristotle. So they are in a line. There are many topics they are sharing. One of them is this concept of happiness related with eudaimonia, being attuned with your daimon, with your internal soul, with what you are supposed to be in the hyperuranium. Let's say that Aristotle, comparing with Socrates, goes deeper in detail. Aristotle describes in detail what you have to do in order to be happy. And it describes it, even though in the video I think it wasn't quoted, he describes it in a book entitled Ethica to Nicomachus. Nicomachus was his father, is a book dedicated to his father. Ethica means the science of behavior. How a person can recognize that someone else is a good example. This is very hard to say. You can recognize that someone else is a good example because you can see that he is very confident with the situation and he is very calm. When for example, when someone is always giving too much space to his or her own anger, you know that he is not a good example because he is on on an extreme, when you are supposed to be virtuous, to find the golden mean between two extremes. Why were they called peripatetics? They were called peripatetics because peripatetics are those who stroll. They were strolling all the day. Aristotle bought this building, and there was an arcade. Do you know what an arcade is? An arcade is sorry to switch to Italian, is a portico, un porticato. So they were strolling into the garden and into the arcade. They weren't giving classes, they weren't having their lessons by sitting on a desk. They were strolling all the time, because Aristotle was convinced that when you walk, you reason better than when you are still. If you are sitting at a chair, you are not reasoning as well as you would do by walking. So they were called the peripatetics. Sorry for telling you this, this that would sound as a bad joke, but sometimes when someone wants to give a nice name to a war, to a puttana, she can call them peripatetics because they are walking. You can see wars walking into the street. So often you can listen to to people that would like to call them that way, so not to use bad words. Is there a man who possesses only virtues? No, we are virtuous exactly because it's not easy to be virtuous. You are not virtuous one time forever. For example, to be courageous is something that you have to fulfill, to realize every time. For example, you can be courageous today and not tomorrow, because always in every specific situation, you have to find the balance, the golden mean between the two extremes. As human beings, we are subjected to our passions, and we are subjected to real situations. In every real situation, you have to find again a new balance. So, so we are virtuous exactly because we are not perfect. If we were perfect, we wouldn't be virtuous. An hero is someone who can find the right balance between recklessness and cowardice in that specific situation. So let's imagine yesterday you behaved as a coward, and today you become an hero. Because today you can find your balance between the two extremes. Okay? Can you raise new questions? Because this topic of the golden mean ethics is very important and is very famous. Is probably one of the 2 or 3 most famous theories about ethics. This theory of golden mean that implies that you are always supposed to find a balance in every possible situation. So when you speak about the courage, the balance is between recklessness and cowardice. And you could see in the video, there was also the example of the virtue of being generous, which doesn't mean that you are supposed to give all your money to everybody without thinking. The two extremes are, can you listen? Can you hear? Because my connection is not really stable. The two extremes are passions. You are pushed by your instinct to be either recklessness or coward. But your reason would imply to find this balance. The virtue is always the intervention of your reason over your passions. in every possible situation. So, for example, if you listen too much to your friends without intervening, without saying anything, that is not a virtue. You have to be able to sometimes listen and sometimes say something. Think about every possible situation. Aristotle lists 10 virtues, but you can invent new virtues because every specific situation requires a new virtue. So have you got other questions? Ok ragazzi, se non abbiamo altre, vi dico solo questa cosa qua. Oggi la possiamo chiudere qua. Vedete il materiale che ho messo in agenda come nuovo materiale da vedere. Oggi non faccio la cosa di dire tu e tu. Ciascuno di voi però dovrebbe essere un pochettino preparato, diciamo così. Io non voglio che voi scriviate nulla perché non voglio aggiungervi compiti su compiti. Nella vostra organizzazione personale però non date per scontato che gli altri avranno delle domande, perché in teoria da questo processo dovrebbe risultare fuori che la teoria golden mean significa giusto mezzo, l'etica del giusto mezzo, che l'etica del giusto mezzo è qualcosa che noi abbiamo imparato, perché c'era il video e abbiamo fatto il dibattito con alcune domande che erano domande interessanti, erano un po' pochine, nel senso ho paura che ci siano alcune aree come dire, della teoria che non abbiamo esaminato. Come dire, diciamo così, la prossima volta se vedo che siamo su questo numero di domande un pochettino basso e che soprattutto non copre tutti gli argomenti, allora stimolo qualcuno a dire la domanda falla tu, eccetera, eccetera, ok? Tanto credo che nella calendarizzazione che ci siamo dati c'è sempre un tempo abbastanza lungo per esaminare questi video che durano qualche minuto, e anche quando vi ho dato delle pagine da leggere, se andate a guardare, è vero, le pagine del dizionario sono abbastanza dense, però anche Aristotele, leggere la voce relativa ad Aristotele sono 4 o 5 pagine di quel dizionario, anche sì, forse più 4 che 5, ok? D'accordo, va bene? Ci vediamo al prossimo incontro.
Ok, arrivederci.